So, can someone tell me who is the speaker of Bhagavad Gita? Not Krishna. So, since you know Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. Someone knows what's in the what's the title of the third chapter? Yeah. Yeah. Not sure. Okay. That's very honest. That so it's the title is Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga. Ah, see, you remember. Good.
Karma Yoga is like when someone does actions.
Karma is action, yes. Action. And yoga means spiritual action. In this chapter, Krishna explains how to act spiritually. Because we are a spirit soul, not a body. Acting as we really are. Okay, good. And we will read an important verse of this third chapter, text 34, and I will read the Sanskrit for you. But before reading from Bhagavad Gita, we are worshipping the speaker of Bhagavad Gita, which is Krishna, with the following words. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 This text 34. You can do that. Yeah. Enough? Okay. Then we can repeat the verse. So text 34, it's page 170 in my book. So chapter 3, 34. Everyone has a verse starting with Indriyasyandriya. Okay. Okay. Indriyasyandriyasyakte ragadvesha vyavastita tayornavasam agachat toyasya paripantina indriyasyandriyasyakte ragadvesha vyavastita tayornavasam agachat toyasya paripantina indriyasyandriyasyakte Raga Dvesha Vyavastito Tayonavasam Agachat Toyasya Paripantino. So we will read a word for word translation. Indriyasya, of the senses. Indriyasya arte, in the sense objects. Raga, attachment. Dvesha, also detachment. Vyavastita, put under regulations. Tayo, of them. Na, never. For some, control. Agachat, one should come. Tao, those. He, certainly. Asya, his. Paripantino, stumbling blocks. Translation and commentary by Abhay Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. So please repeat, there are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under control of such attachment and aversion because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. Purport. Those who are in Krishna consciousness are not really reluctant to engage in material sense gratification, but those who are not in such consciousness should follow the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures. Unrestricted sense enjoyment is a cause of material engagement, but one who follows the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures does not become entangled by the sense objects. For example, sex enjoyment is a necessity for the conditioned soul, and sex enjoyment is allowed under the license of marriage ties. According to scriptural injunctions, one is forbidden to engage in sex relationships with any women other than one's wife. All other women have to be considered as one's mother. But in spite of such injunction, a man is still inclined to have sex relationships with other women. These four principles are to be curbed. Otherwise, there will be stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. As long as the material body is here, the necessities of the material body are allowed, but under rules and regulations. And yet, we should not rely upon the control of such allowances. One has to follow these rules and regulations and not attach to them, because practice of sense gratification and the regulations may also lead one to go astray, as much as there is always the chance of an accident on the royal roads. Although they may be very carefully maintained, no one can guarantee that there will be no danger even on the safest road. The sense enjoyment spirit has been current a very long time, owing to material association. Therefore, in spite of regulated sense enjoyment, there is every chance of falling down. Therefore, any attachment for regulated sense enjoyment must be avoided by all means. But attachment to Krishna consciousness or acting always in the loving service of Krishna detaches man from all kinds of sensory activities. Therefore, no one should try to be detached from Krishna consciousness at any stage of life. The whole purpose of detachment from all kinds of sense attachment is ultimately to become situated on the platform of Krishna consciousness. Omajana Timanvasna, Sunamsana, Shalaka, Saksun Tamyena, Tasmai Shigovena, Chichitaya Manobistam Staptam Vina Butale, Swam Rabkadam Amdadati Swa Padantikam. Vandeham Shiro Shiyuda Padakam Shirum Vaishnavamsa Shirupam Jagajatam Saganaragnatam Pitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Pautana Saitam Śrī Caitanya Devam Śrī Radha Krishna Padan Sagalita Shifishakam Vitamsa Hare Kṛṣṇa Karuna Sindhu Dinabanu Jatpate Gopesha Goprakanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanashve Veshavana Sutadevi Pranamama Hare Priya Pankha Kalpta Visha Kripa Sindhu Visha Padnam Bhavanvyo Vaishnavyo Namo Jaya Śrī Caitanya Caritāmṛta Nityaṁ Śrī Advaita Gadadhar Śrīvāsadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namini. Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharani. Nirvishesha Srimad Bhagavatam Desatarani. Srila Prabhupada ki. So this third chapter explains how to act as a spirit soul. We are not the body, but we identify with the body and we act as we are the body. That's material life. But Krishna teaches us we should learn to act as a spirit soul, although we are in this body. So in the third chapter, Krishna explains in 3.9, Chaknarta karmano yatra lokoyam karma bandhana. One must do everything in one's life as a sacrifice for Krishna, as a sacrifice, as an offer to Krishna. And then Krishna says, no reaction, no karma. Because everything, this body is made of karma. We got that because of our previous karma. And with this body together goes happiness and distress. That I'm sure you all want to be happy, right? Srila Prabhupada, yeah. Once Srila Prabhupada asked his disciples during the class, who wants to be happy? And everyone was thinking, that must maybe a tricky question. And nobody answered. And Srila Prabhupada again asked, who wants to be happy? And again, no one replied. And he asked it a third time, who wants to be happy? And then one devotee hesitatingly raised his hand. I want to be happy, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, one normal person. So we want all to be happy. But is it only happiness that we get in our lives? You have only happiness? Someone has only happiness in his life, then maybe this class is not for you. But no, mostly we have also distress. And do we want the distress? No. So most people are busy with, we don't want the distress, try to avoid it and only the happiness part. But what is this happiness part of the body? I like to eat pizza, right? Pizza. That's, how long does it take to eat a pizza? 20 minutes. 20 minutes. That, and then after that? Yeah, you have to wait some time, and then the problem comes again. You want again pizza. So it is, this happiness in this world is very short. So we have attachment and aversion in this world. We are attached to happiness for the body and the mind, and we don't want a distress. We are averse to it. Aversion is negative attachment. It's also attachment, but negative. And Krishna says this attachment and aversion is a stumbling block on the path of self-realization. If you want to spiritually advance, you have to give up this attachment and aversion. It's very important, because otherwise your mind is always absorbed with this attachment and this verb and this aversion. You start to hanker and lament, and you don't have any time to fix your mind on Krishna. And that's a problem, Krishna says. That 5-6 years ago, I was in Scotland at Lesmaego. We have a beautiful temple there, and they had a festival. And I was sitting in a tent with a sign, "Ask a monk." And a young lady came to me and she said, "I want to find my soulmate." Soulmate. So soulmate is understood someone with the same likes and dislikes, with the same attachment and aversion kind. But that has nothing to do with the spirit soul. But now, okay, Krishna says, you have to act spiritually for my pleasure, and then there is no karma. But how to do that? Krishna explained a few verses back, verse 30. And verse 30 there, Krishna says, Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasyat matchetasa nirasya nirmamo bhutva yutyasva vigatashva. O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me. So do your work for me, Krishna says. And how to do that? You must do it with knowledge of me. So we want to do it for Krishna, you must know who Krishna is, right? Otherwise, if you don't know Krishna, it's difficult to... Can you love something you don't know? No? How do we get Krishna to know? The first thing is we have some interest in what he has to say. He speaks Bhagavad Gita here. So we should listen attentively when Krishna speaks to us. He says, yes, surrender all your works on me with full knowledge of me and without desire for profit, nirasya. That is love. If a relationship is based on you give to me and I take from you, that's not real love. That's a kind of business, right? Business. No, Krishna says, nirasya, without desire for profit. You only give without asking something in return. You just give. Like a mother is taking care of the children out of love, just giving, nothing in return. So that's what Krishna asks to us. Just give. And nirmamo, that's the second point, with no claims of proprietorship. So everything comes from Krishna. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, at the end of the 5th chapter, Bhaktam Jagatapasam Sarvalokmasvaram Svaram Sarvabhutnam Katvam Samtim Richani. One who knows that I'm the proprietor of everything. And therefore, everything is mine. Therefore, I have the right to enjoy. I'm the enjoyer, Krishna says. And I'm the best friend of everyone. And one who knows that attains peace, Krishna says. So everything belongs to Krishna. We can say that belongs to me. That's my property deed. Yeah. But does it belong to the body or the soul? Let's say it belongs to the body. At the time of death, you can take it with you. Before you was born, to whom who was the proprietor? No, it belongs all to Krishna. So that's the essence of spiritual knowledge. The essence of spiritual knowledge, Krishna explains here, everything belongs to God. And yes, God is the enjoyer. That we are also the enjoyer, but Krishna is the enjoyer. And our enjoyment is to serve Him, spiritual enjoyment. And that gives a happiness which is not of this world. A mother served the child, we said. The mother serves the child and feels some satisfaction from it in the heart, right? Right. Yeah. That if you only give, you feel that satisfaction in the heart. Who is in the heart? Krishna is in the heart. Krishna says that Sarvasya Sam Vidishan Vishnu Mata Smitihanam Amsa. I'm sitting in the heart, Krishna says. And for me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Whatever you know, whatever you forget, whatever you remember is given by Krishna. Yes?
Is there a shloka to it? Is there a shloka to it?
Shloka number?
I think it's 15.15.
Yeah, good. Well, what's the translation?
Like everything comes from Krishna. Forgetfulness, like every human quality you have, that comes from Krishna. And the knowledge you gain, studies you gain, it all comes from one.
And then, Vedasa Sarvayame Vavidya.
I'm the controller.
No, it means I'm to be known by the Vedas. Krishna said. I'm the compiler of the Vedas. Yeah, you are becoming a Pandit. Good. Krishna Pandit. That Krishna may bless you to become a sannyasi and preach.
That's still
a long way. Okay. Yeah, you should be surprised. Could become earlier than you think. Oh, that's very good. I'm very happy to hear that. So everything comes from Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna. So these two principles are there. That everything belongs to Krishna, and therefore he is the enjoyer. But if we have attachment and aversion, we think ourselves the proprietor and the enjoyer. And that's the problem. That's the illusion. So to understand that a little more deeper, like here, you have this arm. What do you see? An arm. That's a gross arm, the gross body. But below this arm is a subtle arm, the subtle body. And below the subtle body is a spiritual arm, the spirit soul. But the subtle and the gross body have been grown upon the spiritual arm. And as spirit, we are spiritual living entities. We don't need this subtle and gross body to exist. That how do we know the soul is in the body? Consciousness. Symptom is consciousness. Yes. So if the soul is spiritual and the body is material, how are they connected? It's not a tricky question.
Soul is in your heart. Because soul is in the heart.
Yeah, but why is the soul, which is spiritual, connected with this subtle and this gross body? What connects it? The consciousness is the symptom of the soul. If there is consciousness in the body, we know that the soul is in the body, right? But the consciousness is polluted with attachment and aversion. That comes from, and this attachment and aversion to things in this world is unnatural from a spirit soul. They have nothing to do with this material world factory. But because this connection is made by this misunderstanding, and that comes from this attachment and aversion, that likes and dislikes, and dislikes find its origin in lust. We want to exploit this material world. And these 2 points, I want to impress that in your consciousness, that you never forget that. But these 2 points, I'm the enjoyer, and this is mine. That's false, because that's Krishna's position. But we think we are the enjoyer. We are the enjoyer, and we want things to become mine. That's everyone in this material world wants that. That's a problem. And that's causing false ego. False ego means an ego of who we are not. By that we are thinking we are a man, a woman, I'm American or I'm Russian. That's just because of the body. So Krishna says here, we must give that up. this attachment and aversion. And how can we give that up? By becoming attached to Krishna. Becoming attached to Krishna will purify our heart. Because how did we get this subtle and gross body? We belong, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, to the spiritual world. That's where we belong. And there we have a spiritual body, an eternal body. It's made of Sat Chit Ananda. Eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. And now we experience in this world just the opposite. The body is temporary, that knowledge, we don't know who we are. And bliss, a lot of suffering and flickering happiness, so-called happiness, eating of a pizza. 20 minutes it takes. And it's gone. That it's flickering, this kind of happiness. Yeah. But in this verse, Krishna speaks about attachment and aversion, and Krishna says you must curb that, you must tolerate it and regulate it. Like the regulation for sexual attraction is marriage. And it is said here, okay, marriage, but even that is not perfect, that regulation, because even in marriage, a man feels attracted to other women, and that must be curbed. That for women, it's man, the problem. The same problem is there. It must be curbed. That and because why is that attraction there? Krishna will explain first. It is lust. And this lust, kama isha kodela ratsakshuna samudbhava masana manapapna vichanamyapayanam. Because we spoke about this attachment and aversion, and Krishna says to Arjuna, this attachment and aversion is a problem because it makes you act as being the body. And it has stumbling blocks. You must give it up. But then Arjuna is asking Krishna, I want to do that, but it's very difficult. There is a force that is greater than me that forces me to act according to that attachment and aversion. What is that force, Krishna? And Krishna replied, Kamesha, Kodaisha, Rajaguna Samudbhava, Masana Mama, Patna Vityama Yavarna. This lust is the greatest enemy, our greatest enemy of the spirit soul, Krishna says. Because this lust, avitam jnanam etina, jnanina nityaṁ. This lust covers your pure spiritual consciousness and makes you forget who you are and makes you identify with this body more and more. Okay, Arjuna is hearing that. And he will ask Krishna, this lust is this enemy. I'm a military man. Tell me, where is this enemy? And where and how can I kill him? And Krishna said, this lust, Arjuna, is in intelligence, the mind, the senses, the body. And then Krishna explains how to solve the problem. But before to solve the problem, I want to explain to you, because otherwise it's difficult to understand, how we get this chosen subtle body. Like I said, we belong to the spiritual world, and we were there full of bliss. But at a certain moment, we were thinking, we cultivated the wrong desire. What would it be to be Krishna, to be God? And Krishna said, yeah, are you sure? Do you want to experience that? And we were a little stubborn. We said yes. And Krishna said, okay, there's one problem. You want to be the controller and the enjoyer, but I'm the supreme enjoyer and controller and the proprietor of everything. But no problem. I will bring you in illusion. I will. But you have to forget me, otherwise there is no fun. So we forgot Krishna. And then this desire was there to exploit. But Krishna said, yeah, but that is a material desire. A desire to control, to enjoy. But for this, you cannot use a spiritual body. It's not made for that. You cannot use that for that. It's not possible. Therefore, when we start to make plans with our intelligence, Krishna gave us a separate material intelligence, which is part of a subtle body, and a mind to meditate on this enjoyment. And that's a subtle body. Krishna gave us a subtle body. And to that subtle body, a gross body was created. So it's like you have Krishna, it's explained in the Bhāgavatam that everything is the kingdom of God, the spiritual world. But so that's good news. Everything is the kingdom of God. We are in the kingdom of God. The bad news is we are in the prison section. A dark cloud within it. And when you go to the prison, you get a prison suit. If you get a number, yeah, and some underwear with stripes on. So Krishna gave us underwear, that's a subtle body, made of mind intelligence. But that's material mind and intelligence. The spirit soul has its own thinking and willing, but it's spiritual thinking and willing. So we get a separate subtle body. And on that subtle body, a gross body is created according to our state of mind, or the quality of the desired enjoyment. And our previous karma, that comes later. So, by that we have now three bodies, a gross, a subtle, and the spirit body. But the spiritual body has become inactive. Śrīla Prabhupada says, yes, we have our senses, and our spiritual senses are underneath. So, how do we know we have this subtle body? When you sleep at night, the gross body is sleeping, taking rest. But sometimes we are dreaming, means the gross body is resting, but the subtle body is active and creates a whole imaginary world. And then we get up and we think, oh, it was just a dream. But sometimes we have deep sleep, no dream. And we need that deep sleep, otherwise you are not rested the next day. Because in a deep sleep, this intelligence and this mind recuperates and rejuvenates, and you feel fresh. If you didn't have deep sleep at night, you feel not rested. That's the subtle body. And the gross body, yeah, we know it takes birth and it dies. But when we die, the subtle body continues to exist and takes all the subconsciousness. It takes the samskaras, the impressions of this life with us. Yes. But we forget. We forget when we go to another body. Some things are in our subconsciousness and may come up from previous lives. And that's going on life after life after life. We live a whole life trying to get wealth, trying to get happiness, and so on, striving for so many things, and then dying. It's all for nothing. You start again. That's the reality. But that comes on this subtle body. As long as this subtle body is not spiritualized, it will create new gross bodies, because we desire to enjoy. So Krishna said, as long as you desire, new and new bodies. But Krishna consciousness means giving up this lust and agree again to serve Krishna with love. And that starts with knowing Krishna. So Krishna says to Arjuna, yes, this lust is in this body, in the senses, in the mind, in the intelligence. It's in the intelligence, because with the intelligence we make plans to enjoy this world. If it's used for that, and the mind becomes attached, oh, my iPhone, I need a new one, the latest one, becomes attached. You have a new car with the plastic still inside, and it's nice. So many things, new things. You become excited, I get a new car, but 1 year later you think it's just a car. Give me another one. So that's, yeah, it goes on like that. But Krishna says, yeah, the solution, Arjuna, is, and that's the last verse of this chapter, the last two verses, and by that you have a summary today of the whole chapter, more or less. So Krishna says, the working senses are superior to dull matter. So we have our senses higher than with our senses, we try to exploit matter. And these impressions comes into the mind. So the mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still more higher than the mind. And the soul is higher than the intelligence. So Krishna says there is soul, intelligence, and this intelligence should control, the soul should control the intelligence should control the mind, and the mind should control the senses. That's a controlled life. But many times it's different in this world. Let me give an example. I look at my body and I think, oh, I'm a man. So if one is absorbed and thinks like the body of a man, I'm a man. So, and then with the senses, the eyes see a girl. And all the senses of the man are attracted to the girl. So the man wants to touch the girl, wants to see her beautiful form. When she speaks, it's so sweet to hear. So sweet to hear. So all the senses of the man are attracted, right? That happens when you identify with your body. So okay, attention has gone somewhere else. But yes, the eyes see the girl, and the senses tell the mind, we want to touch her. And the eyes, we want to see her. So the senses say to the mind, we want to enjoy her. And the mind says, yes, very good. Let's go for it. But then the intelligence comes in between and said, oh, what with morality? And the mind replies to the intelligence, oh, you old fool, that's old-fashioned. That do something useful. And intelligence says to the mind, maybe you can write a letter. And you promise her the moon and the sun. And you can also throw some stars. But the intelligence says to the mind, but don't sign the letter, because just beside her is a very strong man. It could be her husband. So that's the conditioned state. But Krishna says, no, because it are the senses which are controlling the mind. And the mind, and the mind misuses the intelligence to give the sense gratification to the senses. That's what's happening. So I like pizza. So I like pizza. I'm attracted to pizza. It's, the senses tell the mind, I want this pizza. My intelligence says it's not good for your health. You must follow your diet. You get diarrhea and so on. But the mind is too strong. I say no. We want pizza, pizza, pizza. And you eat a pizza. Are controlled by the mind and the senses. Controlled by the body. And why? Because of your attachment and aversion. That I think I try my best to explain in a practical sense what it means, is attachment and aversion. But Krishna says, no. You must control the mind with your intelligence, with spiritual intelligence. The intelligence must be fed with spiritual instructions, which are in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita has more than 700 instructions Krishna explaining how to act as a spirit soul. So Krishna says, you must develop transcendental intelligence, how to act as a spirit soul. And with that intelligence, you must instruct your mind to act as a spirit soul and engage your mind and senses in Krishna conscious activities, activities for the pleasure of God, for Krishna. And that is called yoga, connecting the mind with Krishna. And when we connect the mind with Krishna, we will become purified from this attachment and aversion. Krishna takes that hardly away. That is spirit life. That is acting for one's purification. So that's the essence of the practice of Krishna consciousness, as explained here in Bhagavad Gita. And I wanted to share that with you. Any question, comment? Yes?
Saying acting for Krishna, what is the difference between acting out of a sense of duty, that I should do it, and acting out of a sense of love?
Yeah. Acting out sense of duty and acting out sense of love. Well, you can act out of duty, that you work for your boss out of duty because he's going to pay me. That's out of duty. We don't really want to do that for the pleasure of the boss, but we do it out of duty, not out of love for the boss. But acting for Krishna, that it is, if we act out of duty without being attached to the result, that is a preliminary activity to come to karma yoga or spiritual activities. But it's not complete. If you act out of duty, you are not, Krishna says, karman evadakaraste na phaleshna kachana. You act out of duty, you do your duty, and you are without being attached to the result. So that's not easy in this world, acting out of duty. We want all the result. You go working and you want to be paid. But Krishna says, no, that don't be attached to that payment. Just do your duty. And if you do your duty without attachment of aversion, you don't get karmic reactions. But it is a first step. But who can do that? Just acting out of duty, without attachment. You must have a goal. Otherwise it doesn't work. Therefore Krishna says, you do it as a sacrifice for me. You do it for me. Yes, that is the beginning of love. We do it for Krishna, but our heart is still impure. But by doing it for Krishna, our heart will become purified. And to the extent that our heart is purified, we will start to feel love. And then surely we come to the platform of love. It takes a while. But that's the progression in Bhagavad Gita. It's your first act out of duty without being attached to the result. So you do your duty and no attachment to the salary. It comes not. But then one must go up. And then one must do it out of duty. You work, you don't think of Krishna out of duty, but you give the result to Krishna. And then the next level is, you do it for the, you start to do the work for Krishna. And think of Krishna, and you say, Krishna, I'm doing it for you. And I give you also the result. And then the next level is, you do it out of love for Krishna, because you have become purified. So that's a process that may take 30, 40 years to go to all these layers. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, don't be concerned with this karma yoga. Do it directly for me. You come straight to Bhakti yoga, the highest yoga. Does that help?
Yes, but I had a little bit of qualifying question. If one does it thinking, I'm doing this for Krishna, and it says in the Vedas, he will give me back 10 times more than I gave him. So it's, where does that fit in that whole duty and love?
Oh, that Krishna gives us more back. Like, yeah, of course. That he gives us finally eternal life, our eternal life back. That's beyond, you cannot pay that with anything material. It's without, beyond, you can never pay that. That's the biggest thing you can get, that eternal life. Back our normal situation. Because we spoke about this prison shoot, this subtle body, this gross body. How do we get rid of this subtle body? This subtle body is made of material intelligence, making plans for enjoyment. Our mind, thinking, feeling, willing, related to this world, to become happy, so-called. The body becomes happy, but the soul, we are not concerned about it. That we are concerned with the body, but not the soul. It's like we have the example of the cage with the canary bird inside, and we are busy with the cage, but we are not concerned with the bird, and the bird died because it doesn't get food. So the soul needs food. So we have to recognize what's the need of the soul and what's the need of the body. The needs of the body that we know all, and the needs of the soul also, but we forget. What does everyone want in this world? Everything wants to love and to be loved. And that's natural. But now we are applying it to things in this world. And that's the problem. We apply to things in this world. But if it's directed to Krishna, then we feel our natural state. If we serve Krishna, because one may object, oh, wait a minute, you said in the beginning, we want to be happy, but we are made to experience this spiritual happiness. And this spiritual happiness you only get by serving Krishna with love, with affection. Then you are connected by this spiritual energy and you feel ecstasy, a bliss which is 1,000,000 times greater than even it is said the bliss of Brahman. That is the greatest happiness. That, like I said, a mother served the child, and by serving the child, there is some satisfaction. It's Krishna in the heart. That's it. That's good. But if we serve just to give, then we get this spiritual happiness. You give everything to Krishna and you get it. It's spiritual mathematics. 1 minus 1 is 1. You give it away and you get it. But I was explaining, we have this subtle body made of mind intelligence. How to get rid of it? That's the point. So, how to purify the mind? Krishna says, and that's think of me. When you think of Krishna, the mind becomes purified of this I and mind, this false I and mind. It takes a while, and it purifies us from all our past karmas. We have karma from reactions of our previous lives for millions of years. And it purifies us when you have Krishna in the mind. And the best way to, the most simplest way to get Krishna in your mind is chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That is, Krishna's names are spiritual sound vibration, non-different from him. And it's so powerful. If we chant this with a little love, it's going to destroy all our karma. And this I and mind disappears. So that's one component of the subtle body. The other is material intelligence. How can we spiritualize this material intelligence? It's by hearing spiritual knowledge. It is by performance of devotional service. By serving Krishna, dadami buddhi-yogantam, gives you spiritual knowledge to the heart, self-realized knowledge. So devotional service is the way to purify the subtle body. And when because the false ego, the false identification with the body is there, because the mind and the intelligence is absorbed, is centered about this I and mind. But if they become spiritualized, then this I and mind disappears and the false ego disappears. And the spiritualization of the subtle body is the end of the spiritualization of the subtle body means the death of the subtle body. If you spiritualize your subtle body, even you may still have a gross body that runs out, you will not take birth again. You go back to the spiritual world. You are Jivan Mukta. Anyway, that is already high knowledge, but I'm sure you are all intelligence and you have understood that principle. If you understand it, you become more committed to the practice of devotional service. Please chant his holy names, read Bhagavad Gita, be interested what Krishna says and pray to Krishna. It's in your heart. You will experience that. Because Krishna consciousness means living in a relationship with Krishna. That you have obstacles in your life, you pray to Krishna in your heart. That you see Krishna in the heart of others. That's spiritual experience. It's okay?
Yes. I didn't know other questions there, but I had one other question. That is, what is the relationship between thinking I am the enjoyer and thinking I am independent.
Okay. I'm the enjoyer and I'm independent. Yeah, that relationship I explained already in the beginning, indirectly, that we came from the spiritual world to this material world, and Krishna brought us in illusion. The first thing he arranged is that we would forget Krishna. And Krishna is the controller. So we forget Krishna, so we don't see any controller anymore. And by that, we think ourselves the controller. We make plans to enjoy. But that is illusion, Krishna says. He calls all these people in this world Vimudas. It says, Prakati Kriyamani Gunigamana Sabsa Hankari Vimudatma Kartan Iti Manyate. One who thinks himself the doer in this world, or the controller, he's a Vimuda, he's a great ass. Krishna says, Vimuda, super ass. Because everything in this world is done by material nature. Material nature. And Krishna says, Prakati Kriya, and Mayadaksana Prakriti, I'm controlling as a super soul in the heart, material nature. And that is explained how deep that we are in illusion in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse 8 to 11, that Naiva kinchit kaumite yuktama yeta tatvavit pasans sikhan asnam kasan paspans pasan palapam vichinamhinam unmisam nimisamapi indiakase vaktateti darian. A person in divine consciousness, it describes someone who sees reality in this world. Although engaged in seeing, is hearing, is touching, is smelling, eating, he moves, he sleeps, is breathing, he knows in himself that he does not do anything. The soul does nothing. The only thing that the soul does is desiring. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening and closing his eyes, he knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects. So I desire to move my hand, and the super soul controls this body and moves my hand because I desire it. If Krishna wants, if he doesn't want, your hand will not move. I'm thinking and so on. Krishna is not thinking, but I desire, and I desire to speak certain words, and they come out of my mouth. But it's Krishna in the heart who is doing everything. And that is a bitter pill to swallow for the conditioned soul, for the people in this world, that they are not in control. But are we in control? Are we in control of the heartbeat? Are we in control of the digestion? Are we in control of what we can remember? No. It's all the Krishna in the heart. And it goes further on. That's just the first level of that understanding. In 18th chapter, verses 14, Krishna said there are 5 factors of action. The adhista, the body. And then you have the endeavors which are going on into the mind, actions of the mind. You have the senses, the karanam, and the super soul. And the super soul controls all these, the 3 other factors. Then there's a 5th factor, the karta, the doer, and that's the soul. And the soul does 2 things, is doing things in this world only by desire. That's all we do. That is not much. that everything is done by Krishna. And a Krishna conscious person who is fully realized, he sees that. He sees how Krishna moves all these bodies and gives people their karma and the situations and so on. It's a whole drama, this material world. And Krishna is the controller. And we are desire, and we are moved around in this material world from species to species by our desire. So Krishna consciousness means changing our desire. Changing our desire from serving Krishna, from serving myself, which I think I'm the body, to serving Krishna and loving Krishna. Changing of our desires, purifying of our desires. That's what it is all about. Something else? Yes.
In the ultimate sense, do we have any free will?
Yeah, sure. We have free will.
I think the ultimate free will is whether we choose Krishna or not choose Krishna.
Your free will is that you can desire what you want. That's our free will. And Krishna gives us this life of the body, all the circumstances that we encounter of happiness and distress is due to our past life. So Krishna gives us all these situations, and he looks, he gets reactions of what he did in the past. What is he going to do? Krishna looks in the heart. He has cheated someone in the past, and now is someone cheating him. And Krishna is looking, what is he going to do? That
seems like Krishna is having fun all the time.
No. But Krishna, but if we say, this person is punching me, or is blaspheming me, I will get him and do everything to get this person done. And there you go, again, reaction. But if you understand, that is a reaction, the one who becomes a devotee thinks, this person is blaspheming me because I've just blasphemed others in the past, and now I've paid for it. That's good. Thank you, Krishna. And he remains peaceful. There is no reaction. So Krishna sees how we react. Does that help? Thank you.
Hare Kṛṣṇa Maharaj.
Yeah.
One question from Shubvilas Prabhu. He's the president of ISKCON.
Yeah.
Hare
Prabhuji,
Kṛṣṇa Maharaj. Hare Kṛṣṇa Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisance. Thank you so much for the wonderful katha on this third verse, third chapter, 34th verse. Recently, someone asked me this question and I could not properly, try to respond. And I was feeling that I need more guidance on this question. So a devotee asked a question that we are sincerely trying to be Krishna conscious. We are trying to chant, we are trying to follow the regulated principles of Bhakti Yoga. But somehow Krishna, or somehow circumstances are happening in the life which are kind of taking us away from the Bhakti. For example, loss of a family member, for example, certain health crisis in their life, or something happened and then they have to work overtime and they have less time for Bhakti. So situations are happening continuously. They're feeling that although the heart is sincerely longing to be more with devotees, chant more, read more, hear more, but somehow situations are turning in such a way that sometimes the kids are not well, they have this and this and this, and the person is just continuously feeling entangled, and then they are feeling, is Krishna not listening to me? Is Krishna not hearing? At one point, I'm sincerely crying and craving to go to temple more, to be with devotees more, to read more, hear more. But why is Krishna, is Krishna not showing his mercy? So how do we understand that, Maharaj?
Well, first of all, Krishna will continue to frustrate us if we are sincere until we give up all our attachment. Because we suffer because of our attachment. So material life is we are absorbing in this body. Like someone goes to film, you see a film on the screen and you experience, become emotionally connected with the film. Sometimes happy situations are there, sometimes crying is there. And the people in the cinema, they are also laughing and crying. But what's happening on the screen? It's just some light, that's all, but they become emotionally connected. So we become emotionally connected with this body. We identify with this body, and that is the cause of our suffering. And Krishna wants us to give that up, that attachment. And if we give up that attachment, then we give up our suffering. It's due to the identification with the body. And many times, if devotees are sincere, they want to give up this attachment, but somewhere or another they are too weak. They cannot do it. It's like someone comes and he embraces a tree. He embraces a tree and he calls out, "Let me go, let me go, let me go." But he embraces the tree, and then someone comes, the spiritual master comes and says, "Oh, it's you that are holding on of the tree. Just let it go." So the point is, we think this cinema of this material life, we take it too serious. It's not serious. It's soon over. We must let it go. Krishna says in 1088.8 of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that if one gets my mercy, then I take everything away what is attached to. And then he cries. It's like a child. A child, it's playing with a plaything. And the mother comes and said, "It's time for lunch." And the child said, "No, I want to play, I want to play." But the third time, the mother comes and takes the toy away and starts to cry. The child starts to cry, but it has to take lunch. And Krishna is like that. If we are sincere, Krishna will take things away. And then we will give up our attachment and take shelter of Krishna. Please save me. So the hand of Krishna is there. But we think these are my children. I have become a devotee, and my material life will be all rose and Sharanamrita. This is illusion. Spiritual life, material life is suffering, and Krishna is not our order supplier to get us away from this suffering. No, he's going to purify us from our attachment. And it's sometimes a hard lesson to learn. If we don't learn that lesson and still think I become a devotee and I will be happy in this world, that's not good. That means that one is a neophyte, does not really understand the spiritual path. So this is what Krishna says in the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita. I don't know if that is helpful. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you for your
Hare
kind reply.
Krishna. Thank you very much. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki, Śrīla Prabhupada ki.
Yeah.